So morning, everyone. I'm here with Selina Lamy. I've known Selina for forever, not quite forever, nearly forever. And she's important in my life for many reasons. But today I want to talk to her. She was one of the people I interviewed for How to Be a Buddhist Millionaire. So today I want to speak to her about that, about where she has got with that journey. So morning, Selina. How are you?
Good morning. Very well. Thank you. Very well.
You've been out walking the dog, I hear.
Oh, yes. Best way to start the day, up on Wimbledon Common with my Labrador. Yeah, particularly this time of year when it's all autumnal and a bit cold. I quite like that.
This is my favorite time of year because it's cold and I'm not getting a bit of it because I'm in the desert at about 1.5 degrees in Oman, which is, I'm only half joking because that is sort of the point. Both you and I now are kind of in those stages where we are, I mean, how to say this without being cliche, but we're kind of living the dream. We're in charge of our time. We're in charge of our work, which are some of the requirements of being a Buddhist millionaire, which is what I wanted to, which is why we're here today. Would you mind telling everyone a little bit about who you are, where you came from originally? I know it's in the book, but for those who haven't read it, or why have you not read it? For those who haven't read it, that's crazy.
Yeah, huge
Christmas
mistake.
is coming.
Stop now.
Stop now. Don't watch this. Go and get
Press
my book.
pause. Go and read the book.
Exactly. Where you are, and then we're going to discuss what I wanted to look at today. Joking aside, is that bit between the decision to break free from the rat race and then it ending somewhere. There's that messy middle bit, which is fairly terrifying, which you have managed to negotiate quite well. I just wanted to discuss that. So tell us where you've been and where we've got to, and then we'll run from there.
Yes. So prior, I'm corporate. I was corporate through and through. I have corporate blood pumping through my veins. It feels like it should be a different color. I was always corporate. I was a consultant. I spent 20 years doing various stuff. I did sort of 7 or 8 years of consulting. And then I spent 15 years working for a big global investment bank. Not at the coalface, so I was never a trader, but I did all kinds of things around technology and processes. And then I spent the last 7 or 8 years working in financial crime, so in prevention of financial crime, in anti-money laundering and compliance. And that came out of a real desire to, it kind of came up as an opportunity, but it came out of a desire to do something a bit more for the good. That sounds a bit naff when I say it like that.
No,
but,
more and more.
That was part of me nudging. That was part of me nudging towards where I wanted to be going. So I loved it, and I didn't love it all that time. I always knew I was in the wrong place.
That's a great line. I love it, and I didn't love it. And it's an interesting line actually, because it's never just one or the other. Often it's that grey bit which prevents people making the jump. It's not like it's the worst thing and I have to go. It's fun. I love that. I love it and I didn't love it. That's a great line. Sorry, carry on.
No, you're welcome. You're absolutely right. So it has to be bad enough for you to push you out of the door, because it's very enticing. So truthfully, I met some lovely people. I've learned some really interesting things which still serve me now. And sometimes the work was great and sometimes it wasn't. And I always knew I was in the wrong place, but the money is good. The security is good. I had kids. I have kids. I had kids at, expensive schools. We've made expensive education decisions, and those things end up keeping you where you are. So there has to be something,
right, isn't it? And that is in the sort of the self-help world. I don't particularly like that term, but you know what I mean. For the sake of this, that is often neglected. It's easy to because it's so enticing, and not only is it enticing, we need to earn money. So a lot of people are not making jumps because it's a very real thing. And it's all very well those who've done it to go, come on, just go for it. But actually, as you say, they're very real things, and you've got children to pay for, or even if you haven't got children to pay for, a life to pay for. That's a good point.
Yeah, and as you say, it's so easy to say, oh, take the risk. Take the risk, feel the fear and do it anyway. Actually, there are some realities in this world which are, you need to have food in the fridge, and you want to have food in the fridge. You want to be able to go on holiday in the summer. And so you're not going to risk that. unless there's something really worth risking it for.
I like that.
So that was me.
And that is actually why I wanted to speak to you, because it does bring that reality to it, to Buddhist millionaireship, or whatever. For those who don't know that, by the way, a Buddhist millionaire is someone who you can be a Buddhist and a millionaire, but you don't have to be. It's just the idea of linking up what you want to do, kind of your spiritual thing or your calling, if you like, with something that makes money as well. Traditionally, it's been one of two things. I'm either very happy, broke, or not happy making money. Their life's not quite like that, but a Buddhist millionaire sits along the middle. But it does. I like the practical side, and Selina, for those who are watching, it is very practical with that, and so it's a voice that we definitely, hers is a voice we definitely need to hear. So tell me about you going, okay, I've reached that point where I need to change. Tell me about that.
So interestingly, it was a big life event, as it quite often can be. My brother died after a short-ish couple of years battle with prostate cancer. We were very close, and I was very close with his family, and it was very, very traumatic. It was a difficult time and a difficult end. And the best analogy, I've thought it through very hard, the best analogy I have, or the best metaphor I have actually, is it's like, this may not mean much to you, Matt, it's like wearing a pair of very high heels. You put them on and they're tight and not that comfortable, but you wear them a lot and you kind of get used to it. And then you go on holiday for 2 weeks and you wear flip-flops. And the idea of putting your feet back into those shoes is excruciating. You just can't imagine it, and it's awful. That is how it felt. Yeah. So I took time. I took a couple of weeks off work, but actually in my head, I took a lot longer than that. And I was very lucky. My employer gave me a lot of space. But the idea of going back into something I created, having had time to kind of stop and think about stuff that mattered more than what was coming into the bank balance, I just couldn't. I couldn't even contemplate going back. So I knew I had to leave, and I still had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that it couldn't be that anymore.
It's an interesting thing, that, isn't it? And you hear that kind of against the walling, where people are thrown into kind of introspection. And I wonder sometimes, as we said at the top of this, you do need something to pull you out of the luxury of the kind of the money or the comfort or whatever it may be. And I sometimes wonder if it has to be always so difficult, because for most people it really is. What would be really neat if there was a system where people could kind of not have to go through that first. But I wonder if you can. I don't know yet. My jury is out on that. Does the energy created by the pain is the thing that moves you forward, or can you sort of kind of go around that and just choose it? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. Maybe some people will be able to. Who knows? So what did you choose, and how did you get there?
So in the morning, I went into work, and I'd heard they were going to offer me, there were lots of shifts, and they were going to offer me a new role. And it was an American bank, and I was based in London. And so they were trying to not have people based in London because London's expensive. Oh. So I knew that if I stuck my hand up and asked very nicely, they might give me a payoff, a redundancy package. And that, of course, would make a huge difference to my options for the next step. But if I let them offer me this role, they wouldn't give it to me anymore. So I had this weird meeting with my manager, who I didn't know and had never met face to face, over the phone. And she took a deep breath to say what I assume was, "We'd really like you to do." And I had to say, "Stop, just before you say that." Stop. And she was lovely, and she knew what I'd been through, and I explained, and I said, I need something else, and please, would there be any chance? And they were fantastic. I have to say, actually, considering the bad reputation that banks have, they were amazing. They really looked after me. And I got what I wanted. So I had about 3 months notice. And by the end of that day, I had a real sense I was standing on a cliff. I could feel the breeze, and I was there thinking, I just have to jump. And I just jumped. And by the end of the day, I knew what I wanted to do. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm not I'm not religious. No. But something somewhere opened a door. I don't know what that was.
once that, I mean, I think I mentioned it in both books, didn't I? Hardest Path and Buddhist Millionaire. That Murray quote about, you know, being at the edge and then jumping, and something catching you, providence catches you, all that sort of stuff. There is a weird, I get the sort of same thing when I've finally decided. In fact, I never finally decide anything. An idea comes in and I sit down and write, right? So once you start that, you're sort of freed. And it is a little bit, I don't know, otherworldly. And again, you know me, I don't have terms for that. People will call it what they want, spiritual, God, but I have no idea. Creative, but something moves once we let back. So with that in mind, back up to that first conversation, because I think in the very first title, the very first chapter of Hardest Path is the decision before the decision, right? Where actually what moves that is you having the courage to say, listen, can I just hold you there because I have something new coming? I would argue it starts there. That's where the magic starts, because I don't think change is gradual. I think change is immediate in that decision. So getting even to that position, could you tell people who are struggling even with that, sorry, I don't want, you know, what did you wait? How get people there? How did they get there?
For me, I sort of started shuffling along the floor, I think. So I started thinking about all the reasons why I couldn't, because the minute you start considering something like that, your brain, you know, your kind of monkey brain, I assume, the thing that wants to keep you safe and small and tiny, starts chucking out all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. Oh, but no, oh, but no. And I just started challenging those, just asking questions. Is it true? Is that true? I can't afford to do this. Actually, it's not true. Is it true that I need to earn exactly what I'm earning now in order to have? Actually, that isn't true. And that is how it started for me. And once one or two of those had shown themselves to be a little bit less correct, I was much less scared of the whole business, because you could just think, well, if they're not true.
That is a learnable skill. In Tibetan Buddhism, I don't know, I don't remember the name of it in Tibetan, but it's a debating practice. And you'll see it if you see, it's amazing. So circles of Tibetans in their beautiful robes with the long, I don't remember what they're called, but the long kind of blowpipes. Anyway, they debate. They throw out why this Buddhist idea is a nonsense, and the person in the middle has to defend it. And all through kind of philosophical times, it was known that you debate your ideas, isn't it? You just keep throwing it until you can go, oh, actually, I've got that right. And you're right in breaking habits. It's just going, actually, is that true? Do I need £7,800 a month to be happy? I don't know why that number came to my head. Can I do it on? Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. And that's a really good point. And the good thing about that is it transcends the just go for it, which is fine for some people. I like the just go for it, but I'm not very bright, so I just throw myself at it. But for some people, they do want something a bit more concrete, like the destabilizing the table. Oh, actually, is that true? One leg gone. Is that true? No. Okay. Until you find out going, well, it could all be a lie. Why not go for it? That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's going in, making notes as we
question all the things. So there's, and for me, the just do it is definitely a piece, but it comes at the end. So there were a few shuffly steps to make before that, and they weren't great strides. But I got to the end and the call was in 15 minutes time, and I was like, oh, if you and I were in a room together, Matt, I might have used a full word there, but just stuff it.
Nice.
Jump.
Nice.
And I did. It was the most exhilarating thing. I've never thrown myself out of a plane.
There's no high better, I don't think.
No, absolutely right. And by the end of the day, I knew. It's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. So
they feel a bit big bangy for me. That's what I reckon happened. Where you, again, it's that decision, and then everything goes whoosh, and it's that moment. It's incredibly, again, life affirming is not a term I like particularly, but it is. You just suddenly feel really alive and everything's on your side, and you think, I could just do pretty much anything.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. You said something a little earlier about change. These are going to be my words, not yours, because I'll forget yours. But change is actually not a slow process. It's quick. And I love that, because what it makes me think is that actually the change we think of as change is actually the end result of the change. So the change has happened up front. And actually what you see, so my new career is actually not really the change. The change was when I left my old career and changed my
I agree.
mindset.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely, and I completely agree with you. And I think, because I think the change is instant. You're right. And and the end that we see is a different set of glasses. So we change. The change has happened in the decision, and then we put these on to be able to see the result. But actually, the result,
absolutely right.
which in Buddhism is the karma. People go, it's all this divine. It's not a handed gift. That is an unseen chain of events. It's an unseen chain of events which has put in place in one area, and then and that's where a lot of people have the issue in having the wrong glasses, or no. Well, I don't think there's any right glasses, but not trusting that you're not seeing growth. You just can't see it yet. I can't see my cells working beneath my hand, but science has told me they do. And I think we get there with that idea of change as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. And that bit can be slow. Just that processing of stuff can be slow, I think. I see that now with clients. More on that in a minute, I guess. But I see that you watch the change happening, and sometimes there's a oh kind of moment, but sometimes there isn't, and that's fine. They wake up one morning and they realize.
It's not often. I think that it's not. It's very rarely you get the kind of the sun through the cloud. Boom, warmed my face. On I go. Woohoo! No. More a kind of grey sort of drifts away. And I think again, I think in the sort of coaching and self-help world and the stuff that we do is that people feel a bit freaked out that they're not getting the sun through the thing and getting that big kind of knockout enlightenment. When actually say, listen, not many do, and those who are getting it probably lied to you. Actually, to be fair, it's the general grey, which is so fine, because then you can get comfortable in that really uncomfortable bit where it doesn't look like things are shifting, right?
Yeah, and that's such a gift. Being able to sit in that discomfort is such a gift. It's such a useful skill.
Have you had that in you as you've been growing? Have you felt it?
Just once or twice. I remember the first occasion, actually, because I was on a real high. So that was I left the bank in early July, on my birthday, actually, in July. And then I didn't start my training for my new career until September. So I had the summer.
This is 2019.
And I remember this is 2018.
Oh, is it 2018? I can't believe it. Wow. I lost a year somewhere. It might have been that COVID.
Yeah.
Might have been that one. Maybe.
Yeah. that old thing. So I remember so clearly. I remember a day we were training. So you and I were training, with the group in school hall on the mats, and I'd been, as is so often the case, tangled up, and I was about to be made to feel very uncomfortable indeed. And I'd come in with just this uneasy feeling about what have I done? And I remember thinking, I'm just about to be put into a hole that I can't get out of.
I should just if we've got any outside viewers. By the way, Steve and I do jiu-jitsu and karate together, just as I realized that there may be a couple of people outside of our sphere of martial arts that don't know what's it. There we go. Martial arts.
Apologies for that. Yes, martial arts. A lovely, great pastime, and one in which I often get put into situations I can't get out of. And I remember sticking my head out from under this person and saying, Matt, it's completely normal to wake up some days and wonder what on earth you've done, isn't it? And you said, yeah, it's all part of the process. So I stuck my head back. I don't remember if I ever got out of that position or not, but it was I remember the day so clearly. I can tell you what the smell was in the hall on that day. I remember it so clearly. And that was not the last time that happened.
Again, but that's another good kind of actually instructional, because that's right, isn't it? It's the discomfort is part of the process. People, I think people, again, think there's something wrong, that they're panicking and going under, or having writer's block, or having doubts, or having fears. That's the bit you can't see growing. They say in martial arts, to use that analogy, of course, it's not a martial arts talk, but to use that, they say 1 in 1,000 make it to black belt. And you think, ain't that hard? Trust me, if I can do it, it's not that difficult. So then the question has to be why? And it's because most people don't survive the messy middle. The bit where you get hit or you're losing or it doesn't seem like it's happening. It's not anything complicated other than that sort of keep at it ability. Just keep going. Get used. You don't even have to be comfortable with the discomfort. You just have to know it's part of it, and that is what that is. And I think
and
struggling, they have to understand that. I think.
Yeah, completely. And for me, it really helps to name it, to see it. Like, I see you there. You know, that is, you are discomfort. This is your name. You have a name.
As a thing, literally. Or do you name the discomfort, anger, fear? Do you actually give it a...
It could be either. Either would work for me fine. So back then, it would have been just that feeling of, what on earth have I done?
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable, and I see, and it's like facing someone rather than having the shadow behind you. Just going, I see you. I acknowledge you're there. Now, please leave.
Yeah.
And of course it does leave, but it is so important. And then the next time it happens, you think, that's okay. I remember, because I was here before. And I don't want to make broad brush assumptions for everyone, because of course people leave one career for another, one life for another all the time, and it's not always a radical change. But for me, I was taking so many different risks that I would be astonished if I hadn't felt that. Yeah. So I look back now and I think, you know, I'd been in a place where I was part of a huge organization. The work came to me. I had managers to manage stuff. I had people I was managing to give stuff to. I had this nice kind of framework where actually I didn't take any risks other than turning up every day and dealing with things that were important. But this was all about me. I was so exposed. This is me by myself, reinventing myself. You know, it would be astonishing if I didn't. In fact, I think I wouldn't have understood it properly if I hadn't felt those feelings of exposure and vulnerability and risk. And that's why I did it. I wanted those.
Yeah, it's a good point. And actually, we try and move away. So I read this great line once that, again, it's not a religious line, but it has God in it, where it says, God is not just the good stuff, right? He or she made all the stuff. So, and that's the bad stuff too. And the good and bad are kind of relative terms, good and bad in relation to what, right?
Yeah.
And so just knowing that actually this isn't particularly, this is a process. I mean, that's the heart of meditation, isn't it? You sit with the quiet and you just go through this process and you recognize, it's a, you know, fears and doubts are warning systems, just checking in. Are you sure the dude coming towards you, that thing in his stick is a box of chocolates and not a, I don't know, stick or whatever it may be? And that's, so, and it's fine. It's embracing that, kind of being cautious, not ignoring it either. I'm not a massive fan of just ignoring fear. You know, if my hip hurts, I'll probably slow my stretch down, but just going, well, how much of am I adding to the pain of that? Oh, I don't move like I used to. I can't kick quite as high. The kids are doing better, you know, and how much is it really sore? So it's good, isn't it? But as you say, name it, acknowledge it, and then it's serving you. It becomes a tool for you then, rather than this thing that's just trying to rob you of the life that you want. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So now, where are you? What are you doing? And what does your life look like?
So different, Matt. So I decided to become a coach. And even that isn't one thing really, a coach. But so the decision I made when I left was, I'm going to become a coach. I didn't really know what a coach was, but I knew that was the thing I was going to do. So I started just exploring, and I spent that summer choosing where my training was going to be. And I started the training in September. So I am now, where are we, 2 years down the line? Nearly 2.5. I'm a coach. I'm trained and accredited and certified. And I now coach people. I coach all sorts of people, but largely I coach people around midlife career change. Not that surprising.
Good subject. What do they say? Write about what you know and all that.
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of coaches end up coaching themselves. You end up coaching the people who've been where you are, because you get it, and they know you get it. So yeah, that's where I am mostly.
That's amazing. It's very impressive to see. Nothing makes me happier than to watch people go through that process but more than that, pass that process on at the back end. I think I always say this isn't about me. It just happens to be. I genuinely believe whenever we said something to people, whether it's as students of anything, we say there will be a point in a year or whatever where you'll look back and you go, oh yeah, that's right. And that at that point, it's your job to pass on the same thing, right? To pay that whole thing forward. And that's absolutely, I'm not suggesting in any way that I'm responsible for that one bit. I'm just saying as a process, just watching that going on it's fun. It's really fun to see. That's a buzz in itself, isn't it? It's very cool.
Oh, actually, you were enormously supportive, so I don't want to play down how supportive you were, because actually it was very, I operated in a world of people who worked in a bank who thought I was insane. And it did feel like a big risk, and I had great support at home, but I had great support from you. It was handy you were writing a book about it at the time, because nothing felt like a surprise, and that was really helpful. And I can't describe the difference. It makes me laugh actually when I think about the difference in my life now.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary. My husband asked me the other day if I thought I'd like to go back to the bank, and then I turned around and he was sobbing with laughter because my life is, I get to choose, and that's the huge difference. I get to choose what I do.
Is the key.
Yeah, and conscious choice. So not a choice that doesn't, choosing between two things.
The manager gave you your choices.
No, absolutely right. They're all my choices. And if I want to get up one morning and I don't want to do anything that day, and I don't have any clients, I don't do anything that day. I don't have too many of those, because that's not really how I am. But I can.
You can,
and that's important. And actually, there was a piece that was really surprising when I finished at the bank, was how tired I was, and I realised actually the long-term cost of being in a role which you don't really love and which is draining you in all sorts of ways, physically, emotionally, all of those ways, is long. It's a big cost. And I spent the best part of probably 9 months having to sleep in the middle of every day. I was absolutely on my knees. And a lot of my clients have had exactly the same, and I warn them now, because you don't expect it, because you're so used to running at the speed of, I don't know, something very quick.
Beyond that, so if anyone's interested, maybe yourself, but look at Gabor Mate's work about stress on the system. He is fascinating. Gabor Mate, I think that's how you say it. Gabormate. I'll put a link when we send this. His work is fascinating. Something called this isn't the title, but it shows in the body, or something like that, about
was it the body keeps the score?
Something like that. I can't remember. It's brilliant. I was researching it for my new book about fear of death and stuff like that. Anyway, that's amazing. But that is just about stress, what it can do, and it's thrown around that. It's easy to go, I'm stressed, it'll just make you ill, and you just forget that. But actually, when you realize the cost, and you often only realize the cost when the cost has stopped realizing itself on you, when you go, whoa, how was I getting through that? And that's one of the most noticeable things for me about you is you move. It's not just the way you move, but you have a new lightness, which I have never seen. I've known you a long time. 10 years more? 11 years?
No, more, like 15, I think.
15 years. And you have a new lightness, which you didn't have. And that comes from that sort of freedom of choice. I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. It's life is really, really good, Matt.
I'm so pleased. Now, there are going to be people watching this that, despite looking at us, or me particularly, and going, really, he is very normal Muppet. They're still going to go, but they're different because, and there'll be a list. You can see the brain already doing that. Okay, they're already sabotaging, going, no, well, Selina and Matt are different because, I mean, anyone who knows me knows how much of a lie that is, right? But they will be saying to you, oh no, well, behind her, she's got folders, she's got to be important, and oh no, yeah. Anyway, so just for those people who thinking that you bring something to the table different, that they couldn't duplicate that. Just give them something other than a quick bash.
So I would say your journey. Sorry, is journey a bit woo-woo?
We'll have it. It's a real journey.
Another word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your journey is not about me. It's about you. And you need to decide what it's costing you to be where you are now, and if it's worth it. And if it isn't, what are you prepared to change? It's nothing to do with me, because you may not want to do what I did. You may want to do something completely different, and that's fine. That's perfect for you. So yeah, I would say beware of excuses. We will have them every day. But it may come, oh, I can't do that because I should probably, the dog probably needs his, I don't know, his ears wiped or something. And can't possibly do that today. It's too much.
Exactly.
Don't know where that came from. Sorry. So that's what I would say is, what's it costing you to be where you are?
And tell us if you want to. You're very welcome to, because of course you've given us your time. What are you doing? How do we reach you? Can we reach you? Are you for individuals? Are you corporate clients? How do we get hold of your wisdom?
So I have a website, so my company's called Red Moon Coaching. And I have a website, which is redmooncoaching.co.uk, and I can be reached there. I do individual coaching, I do group workshops, and I am getting involved in more corporate work as well. I really like the blend. Part of what I wanted was a mixture of bits and pieces. So I love all my individual clients, but I love the group work as well. So yes, I'm very available. I have a Facebook group, which is called Career Renewal for Midlife Professionals. I can be reached there. I'm on Facebook, and I'm sometimes on LinkedIn. I'm less good at being on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't really put it on. It's all a bit serious and grown up for me. Like, I had to put this shirt on for this interview, and they all have shirts normally. So
they do. They do. Yours has got hummingbirds. Are those hummingbirds?
This is my writing shirt. This is my
beautiful. Yeah, it's the one you wore for your book launch, isn't it?
Yes. So yeah, I just got the one, as you know, as you can see. When I'm trying to be smart, I put my one shirt. I won't stand up in case everyone sees that I've got shorts on underneath. No, I haven't. Of course I have. Trousers all the way. So what I'll do, I'll put those links underneath this as well. Just for my interest, really. So what sort of, I don't want any details, of course, but what kind of clients are they coming with? I don't know what to do with my work, or I don't know what to do with my private life. Give me some, what do people come with?
So interestingly, this year, it's very busy. And there are a lot of people who've had time to think about their career, and they are exactly where I was. There's got to be more. Yes, I'm successful, generally very successful. I've done well. I've, often got a family, all going well, and just don't want to be doing this for another 20 years. So that is where they are. They're at that point of thinking there's got to be more. This can't be it. I had a coach once who described as the 4-step. So she said, she made me stand up, and she said, okay, so then left foot forwards, get up, right foot to the right, go to work, right foot back, come home, left foot to the left, go to bed. And literally it becomes a square that you go round and round and round, and they're caught in that square. And I think people just can't face it. And having spent time at home through lockdown, it's become very, suddenly they see more of their families, they see more of their partners, they see more of their communities. Actually, a lot of it's around their local area, and the reason they moved there, and they haven't seen the shops in daylight for a million years. He's my cat. And they want to change it, and they don't know where to start. That's
one of the things I like particularly about your work, Selina, is that it is how do I say this nicely without offending people? It lacks the nonsense, because in what we do, it can get a bit odd, right? Sometimes. This isn't to disparage anyone who's odd. I love you, but sometimes different communities need different things. Okay.
Yeah.
And I do like that about yours. Yours is just as compassionate, just as kind, just as open, and that kind of big bang moment we discussed. You reference all those things, but it gives people who, you're into some things, not into others, and some people don't want the metaphorical language. They want actual practical steps, and I think that is what's particularly good about your work, which I like and I respect for that, which is great. I mean, I just carry on to speak
you.
the same nonsense that I do anyway, which is why I got my thingy shirt. So all the they can come to me, and if anyone wants actual tips, I'll forward them to you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
I think that's perfect. I had in my head, we'll plan this for about 40 minutes, a nice little
Okay.
38. Is there anything else you want to finish with, talk about, tell anyone? You don't have to, but if you want to leave people with an idea.
Oh, actually, the thing I think I'd like to leave people with is around, I've done a lot of work this year around inner voices.
Mm-hmm.
So those saboteurs, you labeled them as saboteurs, that's actually exactly what we call them in the coaching world. And there's been a lot of work done by a man called Shirzad Chamine, who's a US professor, and identifying the different ones and the impact that they have. And it's really interesting because they take your strengths and they use them against you. And that's been absolutely, a lot of people who get stuck where they are, they sit there thinking, but I need that voice that tells me I'm useless, because otherwise I won't get up in the morning and I won't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Actually,
I need that
was something you
kind of say, but
yeah.
That's who I am.
Absolutely
I am
right.
the goal-driven, determined. Yeah.
That's right. And if I don't, beat myself up regularly,
who am
I
I?
won't achieve anything. I won't achieve anything, and all of those things. And it's been really eye-opening. So I would say to all the people who maybe think, but I need this. Those are the voices to challenge. To ask the questions: is that actually, what will it deliver for you? Actually, what it delivers is you exhausted, and burnt out in a year's time or 5 years' time, whatever it is. So that's my thought, was give a thought to what those voices are and what they're doing to you over time.
Fantastic. So for you all who are watching, that's why I wanted to bring Selina to you, because I think she has so much to offer. And this has been a pretty tricky year for us all. I don't want to be mean about this, but it meant I got to sit in my office and finish a novel. So it's all fine by me, Jack. But seriously, it has been tricky. So I just thought of doing some interviews with the Buddhist Millionaires I did for the book, and then just coming back to see where they are, and just to give us all a little bit of spark and hope going forward, because things will get better. Just to go back to a Buddhist idea, all things change. I have no idea if Buddha said that or not. He probably didn't. It's probably some guy somewhere on a corner and they posted it. But anyway, all things do change, and we'll come out of this as well. But for now, I really hope you enjoy what Selina had to say. I love what she's doing. And if you get a chance to subscribe here, share this, not because I need you to share it, but other people need to hear it or might feel better. So enjoy yourselves. I hope you're all well. Lots of love, and we'll see you on the next one. Selina, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. It's been great.